Welcome everyone to our episode 41 of our podcast Cultivating a New Generation. In today's section Drops of Wisdom, we are going to discuss the book The Psychology of Intelligence from the author Jean Piaget. And we are going to entitle this episode Do You Want to Be More Intelligent? Do you want to or not? Let's see what is intelligence. Let's see the constructions that we need to do in order to really apply the things that we are learning and not just show off that we have certain intelligence when in fact our actions speak louder than the words, or louder in this case than these papers, titles, accolades, etc. So being intelligent is not just acquiring titles, prizes, accolades. Instead, it's the ability to act and apply the knowledge you have. It's extracting the abstract nature of the world, the value of your relationships, the lessons of your life, and do something with all that amazing wisdom to impact and serve. It doesn't have any purpose if you are protecting the information that you have, or you are selfish to give the knowledge that you are acquiring. It doesn't make any sense because the information now is out there. Everything that we need to know is out there. Everything that we don't know is about our exploration to do. Piaget's subject at the time when he was studying this kind of intelligence was just triggered by a question, very simple to state that what is intelligence? The message that he received from all the research that he gathered was that intelligence is action, acting, doing something with what you know, applying something that you already know. To answer his question, Piaget first considered that he could reject many of his earlier and other people's theories. One that held that there is one objective reality out there in the world and a subjective world inside of our heads. We perceive the outer reality through our senses and the information we read or hear from others. All of those senses are our antennas. They are the receptors to pick up the information that we really need. These perceptive recordings create a copy of things existing in this world and map the relationships between them. We are always trying to link the information that we already have with the information that we acquired before, with the information of our relationships, with the information of many of the explorative time that we have. Philosophers who take this view argue that intelligence is the acquisition and correction of this information. If the copies are faithful, we will have a consistent mental system. To those content of intelligence, which is the knowledge, is always acquired from the external world in terms of the information that you are receiving, but you are also producing a different kind of information from your body, from your heart, and those signals and receptive messages are the ones that are encompassed in a word that is interoception, which is knowing what your body is telling you. All the experimental research that he did with children in the 1930s, however, convinced Piaget that these philosophers were wrong. Children who performed his cognitive test didn't appear to be accessing objective reality and copying information from it. They were actively constructing knowledge. So that's what we are doing. We are not just receiving the information and that's it. Well, there are certain people that can be in that place, but most of the ones that want to produce something, we are constructing knowledge. We are doing something with what we learn. Toddlers, he observed, poke, prod, and pull at everything around them. He played, he constructed a new world, and children perform mental actions that have the same purpose. They rotate objects, they put things in order, they compare different classes of things in their minds, etc. These actions, he came to believe, define intelligence, even if we grant that 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 is an objective truth. A child can only arrive at this knowledge by actively reconstructing it for herself or for himself. So this is what breaks the paradigm of education. It is not just giving information. It is not just finishing certain program. It is not just trying to overwhelm children or students with the information. It is trying to make them meaning in what they are going to learn and try to make sense of what they are going to learn to apply it in the real world. So, children must add one by one rather than leaving those two units apart. And having combined them, she can separate them again and end up back where she started. So it's understanding the mathematical world, the numbers, and all the creations that we have in the world, because the world is based on mathematics, the world is based on numbers, and we are made of all of those sequence of vibrations that we are doing. Intelligence, Piaget concluded, consists of these exploratory actions that we are having. Adaptation governs all interactions between the organisms and their environments. While Piaget eventually became a renowned psychologist as a young man in the early 20th century, his great love was biology. So he compared a lot of things from our mental place to the body. Adaptation, therefore, played a key role in Piaget's view of the world. If you want to understand the relationship between any living organism and its environment, look at how it adapts. Consider, for example, humans. When we eat something, our digestive system reacts to this sudden intrusion, let's say, of foreign matter into the body by releasing acid, enzymes, and many signals, and triggering abdominal muscles to contract and activating your microbiome and your bacteria to start sending the messages that they need. For Piaget, this is an example of the accommodation, a type of adaptation in which an organism changes its structure in response to an interaction with its environment. When we eat an apple, our stomachs transform a part of the environment. The mass of fiber and vitamins we call apples into a substance compatible with human life, which is energy, ATP. This process is called assimilation or absorption of those nutrients. Deduction of this kind of information, deduction of the world that we are perceiving using our senses, is imperfect, of course. If the premises are faulty, if your beliefs are faulty, the conclusion is likely to be too. Piaget, however, wasn't really interested in correcting reasoning or doing something about that reasoning. His point was that if a child reaches an erroneous conclusion by employing hypothetical deductive reasoning, this structure of thinking will still be logical. Working with false ideas, in fact, is another characteristic of this stage of development. And working with those false ideas is what has happened. during these 2 years because we are working with a lot of misinformation, with a lot of pseudo science, with a lot of things that don't make sense. But we believe all of that because we were primed by news and by people that are respected because they have degrees. But they said a lot of incongruent things. They manipulate the system and they make us believe in something that really didn't make any sense in many aspects that sadly sometimes you still can't say in these kind of transmissions. So, but you know what I'm talking about. His point was that if a child reaches an erroneous conclusion from this, we as adults do the same because we are working with these false premises. So, what do we have to do? Clean our system. For example, say you present a pre-operational child with a problem that assumes that coal is white. Usually the child will claim that coal isn't actually white but black and will not be able to progress beyond this to solve the problem. So this is pretty much what they told you about the medications that you have to put in your system in order to be healthier, in order to be protected, and also the things that you have to use to not be infected. So it was a false premise. It was not based on science, and there was a lot of information that was covered. Usually, that's what happens with these false premises. You believe they are true because you are not even reasoning, because you are not even using your real intelligence. You are not using all the knowledge that you have. You are not using your common sense to get to a more coherent narrative, and you just believe what people tell you. So older children, by contrast, delight in formal operations that assume a hypothesis they don't believe to be true. For Piaget, the ability to think as if something were true is precisely the kind of reasoning critical to the work of philosophers and scientists. So, watch this reasoning. If something were true, is the reasoning critical to the work of philosophers and scientists? If we have to make hypotheses when we don't know many information of the things that are appearing, but we can just have that hypothesis and start gathering data, gathering patterns, gathering things, gathering coherence of the narratives to make a correct reasoning. When an organism assimilates something, it is actively imposing its own structure on the environment, just as our stomachs restructure the part of the environment made up in an apple. Assimilation incorporates a part of the external world into ourselves. We extract nutrients, we use many of the vitamins, and we start assembling things inside of us. That is a restructuration in our bodies that is happening. That is the same that has to happen in your brain. You have to absorb the information, you have to reason the information, you have to make questions, you have to explore, you have to look for information. That is all the process that you need in order to really extract the truth of the things that you are witnessing. So what does this has to do with intelligence? Well, it's pretty much the same thing. As we'll see, accommodation and assimilation don't just govern our physical interactions with the environment. They also shape our psychological or cognitive relationship with the world. A lot of people is now more intelligent because of the reasoning. A lot of people now has awakened to a different reality, and now they are ready to detect the misinformation. And a lot of people, sadly, stayed in the place where They need to be told what to believe and what to do. That's just the way it is now, the world. So, what is the main quote of this reflection? Our bodies and the minds may be different, but they are engaged in the same task. The body has biological structures, like the stomach and many other organs. Our minds have mental structures. Both regulate our interaction with the environment. So that's the beauty of um, aligning mind, body, heart, and your microbiota, which is the third brain, and using that intuitive knowledge to create wisdom. Thank you very much for being here, for having time to explore a different kind of information. And I just ask you one thing. Give me a like, give me a reaction, a comment, a question, a suggestion of what kind of topics do you want me to review in these episodes or in the long ones. And please share the information with other people so that they can start waking up as we are. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and rest of the week we will listen to each other next week. Bye.